Fig fam, figs and coffee. It just finished raining here in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I have to say that has been the theme. In fact, I've been out of town and I didn't have to have anybody water my figs because it's been raining here just about every single day. And what I learned where I visited up north in the Northeast is that it's been raining up there as well. It has just been a wet season. Normally, you don't need to complain about rain, but here in the humid Southeast, rain can mean one thing, and that is fig rust. So normally I don't spray quite early in this time of year, but because it's been so wet and I'm starting to see signs of fig rust, which is fine if your plant has it. All you guys in Texas, you literally call it the fig rust season. So I've gotten accustomed to it, but I want to manage it. You know why? Because I want to give fig trees to all of you guys that really don't have fig rust. And if you live in a drier climate, it's harder for it to exist. So get some caffeine. Look at these beds, guys. The tomatoes are hurting a little bit because of this rain, but I'm not gonna lie, they're setting lots of fruit. Look at these San Marzanos. And I just picked a ton of sun golds, and all my string beans are just providing kales. Here come the eggplants. I did not build anything for my cucumbers and they're latching on to all the other plants. So I'm gonna have to do some divvying up. But guys, the bonus of all this rain is that the yard is flourishing. My bananas, my figs, my citrus, even the olive trees are doing great. Also, real quick, tell me you make your own compost without telling me you make your own compost when you start getting volunteer cherry tomatoes and you just let them grow. This thing has had a ton of cherry tomatoes just set on it, and it grows with my lemon tree. It's a Harvey lemon. I kind of like it. It survived 25 degrees, no problemo, without any leaf loss, so that was kind of cool. But guys, I'm gonna walk you through what I use for fig rust, and you can use sulfur, but I'm gonna use copper fungicide, and I have not a hand pump. I'm using this motorized pump, and it's awesome. It holds 2 gallons. Let's spray some fig trees and get rid of this fig rust, or shall I say, prevent it from spreading. Up until this point, I haven't really wanted to use a lot of pesticides and things, mainly because I have little kids. And so they're out here touching everything, touching their eyes, touching their hands at a moment's notice. The second take your eyes off of them, they don't know, they don't understand. So I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of yields, plant health and things, no big deal. And in fact, as I learn this climate year over year, I get to understand what happens to figs and what happens to my fruit trees and my plants when I'm not protecting them with different things. It's a learning experience for me as I get really good at this stuff, but I have a lot to learn, guys. So sometimes it's a trial and error thing to see how things get exposed. But up until this point, last year I tried using sulfur, which is great. The only tricky part is that it foams a lot when it immerses itself in water, and it can burn the leaves when you're mixing it with other things like neem oil. The next thing I'm going to try to manage my fig rust, because it gets really bad, especially in these humid climates that I was talking about in the beginning of the video, where it's been really exceptionally rainy here, is copper fungicide to manage the fig rust. What is fig rust? Fig rust is a fungus that it can exist in the base of the soil, and it's microscopic fungi that will grow on the leaves and feed off of the leaves. And it's brown, and it's small pores. They won't turn into a large mushroom type thing, but they'll collect and they will look like rust right here I have on one of my trees. And in the past, I used to say I just let it happen, I didn't worry about it, but because I'm selling trees, I want to manage it for all of you. That means they come off the shelves, that means they get some copper fungicide on them and they dry. But as you guys can see here, you can see on the leaves, it looks like it's rusting. And that is just the brown fungus that can happen. Like you can even see here, the leaves are wet because it's been raining 1 to 2 times a day, every day for the past 10 days. And that's just the case of our season right now, exceptionally wet season. Spraying this won't help get rid of the fig rust that's on the leaves that's already exposed. It's hitting the stuff that it hasn't been exposed yet, the green leaves above it. So we're gonna stop it in its tracks. If you follow really good content creators that are on top of their copper fungicide applications, they've done this already about a month ago. So I am doing my best with the time I got to stop any further progression of this fig rust on all of my figs, because your fig tree is going to be fine from it. It's still going to produce figs. It's going to stress the plant a little, so your yields might not be as good, and it's going to want to recover. Another aspect too is that it can defoliate, and you can expose your trunks to sun scald in the summertime, where usually that leaf growth will canopy those trunks. So let's go ahead, fill this up with some concentrate and spray. And anyone who uses a pump sprayer, get ready. This was worth the 50 bucks, I'm telling you right now. I'm just using the concentrate. You can get literally everywhere. Amazon, your big box store. This is Captain Jack's. So that's through Bonide, and it's their Copper Fungicide. When asked about how to apply, I am literally following the directions, and it's pretty good for fruit trees, which I'm going off of the fruit tree application, but you mix 1/2 to 2 fluid ounces in a gallon of water. I'm in the humid South. We're not playing around. I'm using the full 2 ounces per gallon. I have 8 liters. Which is 2 gallons or just over. So we are going to put in 4 ounces using the measuring cup that it comes with on top. Freshly rinsed from some rainfall. You can see the measurement. There's tablespoons on one side, and then there are fluid ounces on the other. This stuff will look blue because when copper oxidizes, it turns blue, or like green, I should say. What's great is it doesn't bubble the same way the sulfur did. Okay, we're up to the top. Okay guys, as you can see here, these figs have grown a lot because I've fertilized them, I put them in great potting soil, and they're hitting their 3rd year really, and they're leaping. I've pruned them a lot, and so they're rebounding as well, but they are in close quarters to each other. And if you guys have been with me on this journey for a while, you know how small it started, and it's really expanding out here, and I'm not complaining. This is one of the more beautiful things I've ever seen. All of these are setting fruit, and it is just too cool. That being said, fig rust and other fungal diseases occur in wet, humid environments, variable change in humidity and temperature, and lack of airflow. That's why we talk a lot about the fig trees I have over here in the micro orchard. I actually don't have that much fig rust because they're out in the sun and they have great airflow. I have limited space, and therefore I have limited airflow. You wouldn't believe it, but all these trees are mother trees that I don't have for sale, but I use for cuttings. And so I'm really trying to experiment on conditions that they thrive in and survive in, and the fruit that they produce, and the stresses that they incur when exposed to coastal North Carolina climate. I do have fig rust because it's exceptionally wet. Last year in June, it was exceptionally dry. And because I have the lack of airflow, I'm seeing the fig rust occur right now. And so I have this nice shooken up jug from concentrate of the copper fungicide, and I'm spraying now because this morning would have been the ideal time to do it, or in the evenings when it's not quite as hot. And we haven't really hit those 90+ degrees yet during the day. I think we're going to be high in the 80s, but we're getting warmer as the day goes on, where this can kind of burn some of the leaves. But I wanted to wait for the rain to pass, and it's supposed to be sunny this evening, and so now is a great time for me to apply this so it can dry on the leaves until the next subsequent rain falls. If it rains a lot, it's eventually gonna have to be resprayed with copper fungicide because it is water soluble. So I have it all mixed up here in my appropriate concentration. That's either 1/2 ounce to 2 ounces per gallon. I have 2 gallons here, so I put in just under 4 ounces. And then I have this nice motorized pump, and I'm going to spray on top. Just a nice mist all over, and you can kind of see the blue hue form on the leaves, and that's how you know it's getting the copper fungicide exposed. And this is only half of it. The other half is, and this is why I like this nozzle, because it's a wide spray, is you hold it upside down and away from you, and you get the undersides of the leaves where those spores of that rust fungus is. On the undersides of the leaves. So you want the top and the bottom. And I don't want you to spray just the infected leaves. You want to actually focus on the non-infected leaves, because this is a preventative measure from fig rust. So if you're having a really wet season, which I think all of you are, at least on the East Coast, and you want to prevent fig rust on your trees from spreading tree to tree, you're gonna want to use copper fungicide. And having a motorized pump is the coolest thing ever. After doing a pump action one, this is a breeze. It's worth the extra bucks. Many of you probably know that, but I'm here to reaffirm it. It's on my Amazon store. I put the link there so you guys can find it easily. And this thing's great. But just like you're doing a foliar feed on your figs, you want to do a nice spray on top, and then underneath that canopy, underneath those leaves. It rained today, so I didn't do this morning. I waited till the rain passed and let it dry out a little bit. Then I'm doing this. If it gets on the figs, that's okay. It's water soluble, it'll rinse off. The downside, if you're in the southeast or in a humid place and it rains, you're gonna have to do it again. All right, let me do the rest of these. I'm gonna bring it to the other side and we'll go over one more piece of advice to do if you're dealing with fig rust and you already have fig rust. So many figs. All right, fig fam. So you guys got to see that application. Hopefully when these dry, I can actually take some footage and I can show you that blue hue that it tends to get with that copper fungicide application. There's one piece left that I want to do probably on a more intense extent here with all this new growth that's all intermixed here. I only have less than a quarter acre to work with in this backyard here. One day I'm going to have an orchard and it's going to happen sooner than I imagined, which is a real cool gift for setting my intentions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find the leaves that have dropped that have fig rust on them, because there were a few days when I was gone that they probably got stressed, weren't getting enough watering. And when the fig tree gets a little stressed, it's more susceptible to disease, right? Here comes the sun. Awesome. So this stuff's going to dry on these leaves and it's going to prevent further fig rust from establishing itself on new leaf growth. I am going to go in here and I want to show you something. Those parts of the tree that were stressed, possibly getting some sunburn and they weren't removed from the tree, those are the leaves that the fig rust is going to gravitate towards first. Other molds exist too, so if you have dead growth, there's some other types of fungus on here. And what I do is I remove them. I don't want them to sit and stew because that's how they spread, right? So we want to eliminate a lot of the sourcing of this. I wish I did this earlier in the year, but I'm catching it now. This is the first year I've kind of done a widespread copper fungicide application to stop fig rust. In the past, I've just let it run its course because we're in such a hot and humid summer environment. But it's just been so exceptionally wet here that I don't want to put any extra stress on my trees because they look so good right now, guys. But when I see the yellowing leaves that have fallen maybe from not enough watering or maybe too much water, and then I see the fig rust that's forming on them in this brown mottling pattern, that's a sign for me to remove that. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna remove all the stuff that's been susceptible to fig rust. And when I get those out of the way, I'm actually gonna use a leaf blower and blast through it, get some great airflow. Take advantage that the sun is now back out because it has been a wet June so far, fig fam. And one more thing, I want you to look at the trees that aren't in this dense area. I just mowed the lawn out here in the micro orchard, and I have to say this Borges oak grease looks fantastic. The Peter's honey right here. Look at all this growth. No fig rust is located on it at all. And maybe down at the bottom leaves, there's a little bit of fig mosaic virus, but that's par for the course. But the one indicator is that it is got an open bottom. It's an open air area. Whew, here comes the heat. My Col de Dent Blanc, my Col de Dent Noir, my Genovese Nero, they aren't showing signs of fig rust. And I have hundreds of fig trees. And so this is really indicative of how important airflow is and good sunlight, because that'll dry your trees out quickly, even in humid environments, even when the humidity is high. Those two things will really benefit your fig tree if you're in a humid climate. Because I can show you right here in this huge tree, that there is very, very limited fig rust. See, look at this tree, about a 6-year-old tree now. It's an awesome, awesome tree, and it's just got an open bottom for good airflow. It's got a canopy on top for good shading of the branches. Fantastic. So over here, all of these trees are getting adequate airflow. In the micro orchard, I have them at about 6-foot spacing. In here, I've made them about 7 feet apart. One day, without dieback, these will all be much taller. And as the bigger and more mature they get, the more resilient they'll be to cold dieback. And I'll have my beautiful orchard all set up. But these trees will have to go out to a larger property somewhere. But for now, this is my little piece of peace. You can see good airflow, good sunlight will keep the figs dry and healthy, as long as you're doing your fertilization in potted figs and you're doing a nice application of compost on the in-ground trees. But I wanted to show you that I struggle with fig rust here in the humid southeast, but if you have adequate locations for your fig trees, you can manage it quite well. And if you don't, you can also manage it with copper fungicide, and that's what I'm doing. So cheers, Fig Fam. Thanks for joining me. If you like this, subscribe, like, reach out with questions. I'm here to help you grow figs, guys. I got a few fig trees left. I'm gonna have to stop selling them soon because it's getting too hot to ship the fig trees around the country right now in the mail system. The fig trees are getting stressed. But if you're in a climate that's not getting super hot and you want a fig tree, reach out with questions. I'm happy to help you. Take care, Fig Fam.